very good evening, everyone. It is with pleasure that I, Aarti Jhingan, your host and host for the evening, welcome you all back to the second episode of the Ultimate Pitch We Evolve Masterclass series. As I mentioned last week, this year, the Ultimate Pitch 6.0 has created records once again. Over the past month since its launch, we've had more than 10,000 students registering and sharing thousands of their ideas. Since we last met a week back, where we revealed the campus shortlists, we at TUP have had sleepless nights with an uphill task of evaluating amazing ideas in the campus rounds and meeting some wonderful teams from across our B schools. In a span of just 7 days, we've met more than 500 students who pitched 127 ideas from over 35 institutes. And we thank our jury, that is our leaders from across the Reliance Group who've supported the evaluation. And we also applaud the relentless spirit with which the teams have pitched their ideas on an online platform in such a seamless manner. Salute you guys. We are now a more than 10K strong TUP family. And it is with pride that I once again welcome you all to this energetic TUP community. Speaking of community, it brings me to how wonderfully and organically this TUP family has grown over the last 5 years since its inception. I still remember some of us sitting and designing the stopwatch logo of TUP in a primitive form and see how it has evolved over the years. From starting off with only 16 institutes in season one to today, that number being innumerable. That is how our TUP community has evolved and continues to with each passing day and with each generated idea from all of you. So we wanted to bring all of you together, this meaningful community, which is hungry to grow and learn from each other. Like I said last week, the TUP We Evolve Masterclass series is for you, our TUP community. Winning and losing is a part of life, but what doesn't stop is our power and will to learn, ideate, and evolve. And to continue on this path of learning and evolving, it is with excitement that we step into the second episode of TUP We Evolve Masterclass with a gentleman who needs no introduction. But let me still try and do that. Chairman of the Quality Council of India since 2014, the chairman of Network 18 and TV 18, and is a member on the board of Reliance Industries Limited. He is also a board member for L&T and CIPLA. He's been involved in many initiatives across the government to improve quality of goods and services and has been involved in measuring Swachh Bharat and worked with over 23 ministries. Over the last 5 years, QCI under his leadership has grown 10 times. A mechanical engineer from IIT and an alumnus of the Harvard Business School. He served at McKinsey for 34 years and retired as chairman of McKinsey India. Grown up in Amchi, Mumbai, he is very active in community and social causes and serves on the board of many trusts. I am talking about none other than Mr. Adil Zainulbhai. Please join me in welcoming him to this masterclass. Thank you so much, Adil sir, for joining us. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be sharing a screen with you. And in a way, it is like a bucket list tick for me. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone around India and wherever you're dialing in from. It's always fun to talk to young folks and students because it's a very interesting time for you and I wish I could have relived my life in a sense because it's such an amazing time. And just by way of background, when I graduated from IIT in 1977, when most of you were not yet born, I think. And the economy was in terrible shape. The opportunities were really bad. The companies, the kinds of jobs you could get were with only a few large companies and the government. And at that point, I decided that the opportunities were a lot better outside India than in India. So I left and I went to Harvard Business School. I joined McKinsey and I was at McKinsey in the US for 25 years before I came back to India. If you look at the economy today and the opportunities today in India compared to when I graduated, the opportunities are phenomenal. I mentor a large number of people around the world and I always tell Indians and people of Indian origin to come back to India, that the nature of opportunity in India today is phenomenal compared to any other time, I think, in our past history since independence. And everything is changing, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. And this is a great, great, great time to be here and a great outlook for everyone in terms of what to do. And I think on the theme of evolve, I want to start out by saying part of the reason everything is changing and so exciting is that because of technology, the fact that the capability for computing is growing as fast as it has, and it has continued to do so over the last 30 years, because broadband is now ubiquitous in India and around the world, because of the fact that ideas spread across the world really fast, and because of the growing technologies in artificial intelligence, machine learning, CRISPR technologies, and biosciences, everything is changing at a pace that, we keep saying previously that things are changing faster than the past. But I think at this point in time, things are just changing at such an amazing pace that it basically changes everything and therefore creates opportunity. And just to give you a thought about that, about the rate at which things are changing, and how even very, very big positions that people had and very large companies that used to exist, the kind of changes that have occurred in that. So I'd just like to go through a couple of examples and then I'll talk about what lessons that has for us. Let's start out with the slides, please. And what was very interesting when I left India, TCS, Infosys, and others all didn't exist actually. Infosys certainly didn't, and TCS had just started in the late 70s. And for a very long time, everybody looked at IBM, and it just dwarfed everybody else in the services industry. And a very interesting way to think about it is if you look at TCS, even as early as 10 years ago, TCS was a small fraction, was a third the size of IBM. And in 2000, TCS's market cap, it hadn't gone public as yet, was probably 1/50th that of IBM. If you look at it today, it has passed IBM in market cap, despite the fact that IBM is substantially bigger. And nobody 30 years ago, or even 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, would have thought of an industry stalwart like IBM being overtaken in its core business. Forget about making forget about Apple and others, but how in its core business it's been overtaken by TCS. So companies that we thought that were stalwarts, given the rate of change that is occurring, if they are unable to change, new competitors are just coming in and changing everything. What used to be impregnable positions for companies, where Michael Porter talked a lot about barriers to entry. They had strong barriers to entry and therefore strong positions. Today, with the pace of change of technology, barriers to entry are going away. Small companies can come in and take over massive positions. Let me give you another example. Can we go to the next slide, please? It's very interesting to look at the same thing. Now I'm comparing IBM versus Apple, which is even more dramatic than the IBM TCS version, except that Apple is not an Indian company. But Apple used to be, in comparison to IBM, a relatively small player. And while IBM's market cap has remained roughly the same or gone down, look at where Apple is today. 10, 20 years ago, nobody would have thought that in the core hardware manufacturing business, that a company like Apple would grow to the level that it has compared to IBM. Because nobody could imagine that somebody could grow this quickly and somebody could take advantage of technology and evolve as fast as they did. Can we go to the next slide, please? One of the most interesting one, and I'm sure many of you have followed this because the day this happened, people tweeted about it all over the world. It is extraordinarily amazing that Tesla, which is a company less than 10 years old and makes 1/50th the number of cars that either Toyota or GM or Ford or BMW or Mercedes makes, has a market cap today that is more than the sum of the 5 largest car companies combined in the world. It is really just staggering to think that an industrial base that was built up over 100 years of these five largest companies is currently valued by the market at a fraction of Tesla. Now, independently of whether you think Tesla is overvalued and the others are undervalued, I think this just shows how opportunities have grown for very small companies to take on very large companies. The car companies are still very large. The number of people they have, the number of cars they make is phenomenal. But obviously, investors think that the potential for a Tesla is substantially more than all five of them combined. I think this is stunning. We would never have seen anything like this or even imagined anything like this 5 years ago. Can you go to the next slide, please? I thought it would, given that I'm on the board of Reliance, this has been a very interesting time. For decades, and I'm not even using the example of General Electric, for decades, ExxonMobil was one of the largest companies in the world, not just the largest oil companies, but one of the largest companies with a phenomenal global reach and a phenomenal capability of churning out earnings, churning out oil, etc. If you go back to 2000, when Reliance looked at ExxonMobil, it was this giant, and we looked at what can we learn from companies like ExxonMobil and what they do. By 2010, the gap had become slightly lesser, but it was still extraordinarily large. But look at what has happened to oil and the valuation of oil companies compared to the valuation of companies that have evolved from oil into data, which is the new oil, and the dramatic transformation that has occurred in a company like Reliance. So that this company that everybody in the world look up to as the largest oil company in the world, I think, depending on Reliance's stock price one day, we will be bigger than ExxonMobil in terms of market cap. I point out these to show you that, in fact, either you evolve or a new breed of competitors is going to come and eat your lunch. Next slide, please. I also wanted to compare just in the energy business. If you look at renewable energy like wind, Vestas is a wind company. And, in 2000, I can imagine somebody from Vestas having a discussion with ExxonMobil, or even in 2010. They were the little small fish in comparison to the very big fish that they had to discuss, that to go talk to. But look at in such a short while where Vestas has come compared to ExxonMobil. I am completely convinced that in the next 5 years, the renewable companies will have created more value than the largest oil companies in the world. Next page, please. And of course, one of the wonderful things that's so amazing is the number of companies that have achieved $1 billion of valuation globally has accelerated. Today, there's 615 unicorns around the world. I think there's now 20 in India. Nobody would have imagined this 10 years ago in India. Nobody would have imagined this around the world. Many of the barriers to entering businesses are falling, and small startup companies which are smart and which are moving fast and which are evolving fast are taking on the big giants and becoming very, very big. It'll be very interesting to see how some of these unicorns of today, topple some of the very large companies in conventional businesses in the next few years. So I think now you can go away from screen share, and let me just talk about. So what does this mean? It's as I said, it's a very exciting time. If you were as a student graduating or as a small company starting out, in the past, the large companies had all the advantages. Today, actually, the small companies have the advantages because they can evolve faster than anyone else. And the large companies that can evolve have a real shot at doing something. And those that don't evolve will basically be consigned to the scrap heap. And what do I mean by evolve? Coming from McKinsey, of course, we loved 5-year plans and long-term plans and all of that. But today, Reliance got into digital and grew Geo. And I have to tell you, watching it from the inside, that they changed every day. There wasn't a 5-year strategy that people were stuck at. It kept changing. Everything changed, and then the environment changed, they would change. They were willing to turn 180 degrees when necessary. If you look, I remember this incredible discussion that we had, saying that in the long term, a company like Reliance will need 10,000 software engineers, and why would any software engineer want to join Reliance? They would want to join Google and Apple and everybody else, or even other startups like Airbnb and Uber and others. And Reliance took it on itself that that was a challenge and that they would attract the best. And 5 years ago, the best engineers in India wanted to go to Google. Today, the best engineers want to come to Reliance because it moves so quickly in Geo. And today, I'm happy to say that Geo has over 10,000 software engineers that are turning out some of the best code in the world. That's the pace at which we have to evolve. It cannot be some long term strategy to evolve. You're evolving every single day. When I look at some of the Indian unicorns and the Indian companies that have done well, their senior management team, their engineers, their marketeers are looking at what's happening and changing every single day. In the past, a product would change every 5 years or 10 years. In the digital world, the product changes every hour, every day. We have software updates every day, every 15 days, and it continually evolves. So, almost in anything we do today, we have to evolve as the work we do, the company we are, and how we deal with it. What does it take to evolve? I want to spend a few minutes on that, and therefore, what should you think about it? I think it takes a certain mindset to do it. And the mindset is that, the world around me is changing. And just because it changes in a way I don't like, I cannot give up. I have to adapt to it. Just because I thought I had an idea that would work and it doesn't work, I don't give up. I change it. I'm not right all the time, but I can keep changing and catch up to what is the right thing to do. And so I guess the point I would make in this is that having a built in flexibility in how one thinks makes a huge difference. When you think about many of you, I'm sure, will be starting companies or going into startups, which is wonderful. And I encourage people to strike out on their own and do extraordinary things. Um, I laugh because we are running into companies that have been started by people graduating from college, and they come up with the craziest ideas. And I'm now scared to say that any idea is too crazy because they always prove us wrong. And I'll give you some completely wild ideas that people have come up with that I thought would work, and then they work. Today, if you are most of your parents, when they go buy fruits and vegetables, they believe that they can look at the fruit and vegetable and figure out if it is ripe, not ripe, if it is damaged, not damaged. It's a very personal thing. And for a very long time, the only way for anyone to figure out whether a fruit is in its prime condition was for somebody to look at it and say, yes, it is. But so you can't have someone go and check every piece of fruit in your store to make sure that it is great. So these kids who are basically ex engineers in their 20s thought that they could take a photograph of a fruit and create an AI system that would allow you to judge whether the fruit is good, bad, and rate it on 1 to 5, and that it could cost you nothing because you're just taking a picture of it. It is that when I looked at that, I said, "This is a crazy idea." I trust my mother's view on whether the fruit is good or not. How are you going to tell me whether this is good or not? And in fact, their system is now working in a lot of retail stores, not just at Reliance, but across many others. They look at fruits and vegetables and can scan it and tell you whether it is in good shape or not. And at the end of the day, you can scan all the fruits in the store and throw out everything that isn't at peak. So I'm scared now to tell people that things won't work because, in fact, many of these crazy ideas actually do work. And if they have the right kind of people behind it, they make it work. So I wanted to talk for a few minutes, and then we really ought to take questions. I don't want to go on forever. I want to talk a little bit about what does it take to evolve. And I think it is a personal capability and a systems capability. A personal capability, as I said, is people who evolve are always curious. They are, they want to know what is going on, and they don't have tunnel vision. They see what's happening around them, and they adjust, and they adjust faster than anybody else, and that's why they stay ahead. So the ability to be curious and look around you matters a lot. The ability to be flexible and not be stuck in one frame of thinking is very important. If you go talk to venture capitalists who are the most successful, or to angel investors who are most successful, what they tell you is that most of the time they don't bet just on an idea. They bet on the people, because they know that whatever the idea is, it is going to change 180 degrees by the time it's successful. And so they want to look at people who are able to change with the circumstances and make it work even if the idea changes 180 degrees, which is, I think, something for you to think about, because we all think that once we get a great idea, that's great and everyone should buy into it. But let me tell you, whatever idea you come up with, maybe there are 10 other people who will come up with that idea. You may not know who they are, but they will. But the individuals and the teams that can really make these things work and adjust and evolve as circumstances around them change are the ones who will make an idea work, not just in a startup, but in a large organization and in any organization. By the way, this level of flexibility and thinking, in my mind, is even more applicable in the social world. If you look at NGOs that are successful, if you look at people who work to make other people's lives better, if you look at uh, the medical field, you look at teachers, the ones who are really, really, really successful over time are the ones who are flexible and adjust quickly to what's happening around them so that they can make something work rather than be stuck with it. The two other things I want to talk about, and then I will open us up to questions. One is, to be successful, you can't really do it unless you have a lot of energy. The world is changing so fast that if you don't have the energy to keep up with it, you will never, it just will not work. This is, and this is why to have processes that don't change, etc. The next, believe and some in almost anything that you're trying to do that is interesting and unique, you will face 50 barriers, many of which you have not thought of. And if you give up at the first barrier, it'll never work. And that's what I mean by never giving up and just staying at it and at it and at it. So, with that, I'm going to stop and not keep on preaching about this. But this is what I have learned over my consulting career, working with the government, being on the boards of Reliance and others. And let me summarize. One, this is an extraordinary time given the change that's occurring around us. It's an extraordinary time to be graduating in India. Many years ago, the technology that came to India 10, 15 years later from the rest of the world. Today, we are getting it at the same time as everywhere else. And whoever can use those technologies and those ideas faster, wherever they are, will be successful. And so that's phenomenal. You don't have to wait for anything. It comes, the same technologies are available to everyone around the world, and how you apply it. So it's a fabulous time, I think, to be young. It's a fabulous time if you have the energy, the drive, the curiosity to do it. 20 years ago, the amount of venture capital in India was about 1,000th of what is there in Silicon Valley. The number of startups in India was 1/10,000th of what was in Silicon Valley. Today, the Indian startup ecosystem is probably the second or third best in the world. The amount of venture capital, private angel investing, angel investors are huge. I think our goal is to try to get to 100,000 startups a year. I don't think we're there as yet, but 20 years ago we were at 5,000, and we're now at about 50,000. So it's a phenomenal time to be alive in India. It's a phenomenal time if you have the drive, the curiosity, and the ambition to make something interesting happen. And I know this is the last question you're going to ask me, Aarti, so I'll answer it now. What do you wish for? If you could change something, I would wish to be graduating now. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Adil. So I think that is so inspiring. You've picked up such relevant examples, and we have so many of our B school students across the country who've joined us today over here. And I think they're all going to gain from this global perspective that you've shared on evolution, and it'll certainly help all of us. I mean, not just the students, but all of us to continue on this journey of inevitable change. I particularly resonate, sir, with what you mentioned on, no idea is a crazy idea. And why I like that so much is because that's actually the foundation of the ultimate pitch, where we enable our students to kind of think crazy, think large, and challenge conventional wisdom. And that's been, what has brought us to the sixth season of the ultimate pitch. So thank you so much for sharing those very valuable lessons. But we're, of course, not going to let you go so easily, because this is such a momentous opportunity to interact with you. So we have some questions for you, which we've curated from social media. We also have some questions that our students are posting right now, and interestingly, we also have quite a bit of our internal Reliance audience who's very keen on asking you questions. So I'm just going to
Sure.
get right into it. So in the year 2020, of course, and while it's been fairly eventful and maybe not a very positive year, but I think 7 Indian companies made it to the Fortune Global 500 list, and of course, Reliance Industries holds the top spot. However, over the previous century, we've seen that there has been disparity in the way India and the Western world has developed. Now, how do you see that changing in the 21st century?
Countries go through development cycles, and India was developing other aspects of it. India was developing its democracy. India was developing various other aspects, and it took 30, 40, 50 years for us to develop that. But we've caught up in a major way, and if you look at what is happening in India, honestly, it's quite amazing. Except for China, nobody else has accelerated at the pace that India has. And so this is India's time. Sometimes it takes, you can't, lots of external things happen. But as we look forward, rather than look back, I think India is being taken very seriously around the world. It is a stunning thing that the Indian education system has thrown up people who are heading more Fortune 500 companies than almost any other nationality. We are all so proud to see, that the head of Microsoft is an Indian, the head of Google is an Indian, etc., etc., etc. And that's just amazing, and that would not have happened 50 years ago, right? But this is the new world. Talent travels everywhere, technology travels everywhere fast, and it's what you do with it. And so India is, in the past, nobody came to India for anything, right? But today, I'm sure many of you are following the fact that India is the pharmacy to the world. And in fact, more vaccines are going to be produced in India than anywhere else. And this is a credit to the Indian system that has developed companies like this that have this kind of capability. If you look at, I was talking to some of the people at some of the IT service companies in India, and they were saying that the demand they have right now from companies around the world for digital solutions is phenomenal. They are hiring at a crazy pace. And they said, if we had 3,000 PhDs in mathematics next year, we would hire all of them, because the demand from around the world for that quality talent is so high. So I think we will be taken quite different. It's just a different century. It's a different time, and we will be taken very seriously. And people from around the world are coming to India to look at what India has done and what we've learned. And we shouldn't mess this up. So it's not a foregone conclusion that we'll do well. But where you put attention and time and energy, I believe that we are in for a wonderful time.
Great, absolutely. And I think, in many ways, you spoke about how technology is bringing all of us together. And I'm sure we at Reliance and Geo, of course, play a very important role in bringing, the world together in such a way. And that actually brings me to our next question, which is talking about that how technology and digital connectivity, while it's bringing everyone together across the world, whether it's communication, ease of doing business, in such a scenario, what do you think India should be learning from the Western world, and what do you think the Western world should be learning from India in all humility?
Um, I'd broaden the question to say that we are in a situation where if you want to adapt quickly, you must learn from anywhere and everywhere. I don't think it is a question of we should learn from the Western world. We should learn from wherever there are successful models and wherever the success people are succeeding and doing interesting things. If it's happening in Africa, we should learn from that. If for example, forget the Western world. One of the most interesting countries that has gone in for digitization very fast is Estonia. Estonia is a very small country to the north of Russia, and they have emerged as one of the very aggressive digital players, and we can learn from that. So I don't think we should learn just from the Western world or the Eastern world. We should learn from wherever we can learn. We should learn from ourselves. We should learn from what we're seeing in India, and use that. I don't think we should have an East-West divide. We should have. We should just look at whoever has a great idea. The great. Let's think about it and learn from it. And the barriers to learning have gone down because everything's available everywhere, so we can learn from anywhere. The second part of your question is what can people learn from us? The more successful we are, we should be careful that we don't become arrogant about it. But I would just say if we are successful, people will come to learn from us, and they will learn whatever they want to get out of here, whatever they want to get out of the what they're seeing companies succeed at, they will learn from us. And when they don't want to, they'll take consumer services, for example, or I services. It's interesting. We always talk about TCS, Infosys, Cognizant, and all of these companies, which we're all very proud of, are Indian startups. But we should not forget that the largest number of people in IT services in India are also at IBM, Accenture, and a series of international companies. So in a sense, they learned the lesson, and they came to India and they said, you know what, we can't learn this somewhere else. So we're just going to rebuild it here the way you did it. And so if you look at the total number of people in IT services that are employed in India, more than a third to 40% are employed by MNCs in India. If you look at R&D scientists in India, I think somebody once told me that there are 1,000 R&D centers in Bangalore alone. A lot of them are from MNCs. And so they've come to learn from here. My guess is that we shouldn't worry too much about trying to teach anyone anything. We should do what we have to do and be successful. And smart companies and smart individuals from around the world will find us and learn from us without us having to do a lot about it. And the ones that don't want to learn from us, hey, it's okay. People who don't adapt, will not succeed. So I don't think we should and I don't think we're trying to force anyone to learn from us. We are just saying, look, we are doing something and we are doing it because we think it's interesting and for us to succeed. You want to come and learn from us, great. You don't want to come, fine. That's not we are not out here to teach you. We're out here to do something for ourselves.
Great, that's a good lesson. We need to be constant learners, and in fact, that resonates so well with the foundation of TUP community. I mean, we are all here today, this evening, to learn. And on that note, I actually have a question. So, considering our audience here, right, most of our students in the audience today are soon going to be starting their corporate journeys too. And corporates have often been at the forefront of bringing about societal change. Now, how do you think corporates ensure that they are doing enough in bringing about that positive change in the society? If you have any stories or any examples that you'd like to share.
Um, I think, first of all, corporations have become much more attuned to the communities that they serve and the communities that they are in. And I think you have to do that to be successful. And so therefore they lead, some many times the government doesn't change it, but companies start changing this internally. They change and they are creating better opportunities and greater uh, rewards for individuals than governments did before or mandated before. If you look at if you look at the environment, companies are doing the best. Companies are doing a phenomenal amount of work. Before anybody wanted them to do it, they are becoming, carbon neutral. They are changing the lives of people around them in the villages that are out there, and they're changing the lives of their workers. And so they're doing a lot in CSR. And over the last few years, the level of CSR activity from most large companies has gone up dramatically. The second thing is, I think companies change because they want to make a difference. And if you want to succeed around the world, you pick up ideas from around the world about what does it take to be a good corporate citizen, and apply it here. And so, for example, I'll give you in how companies change and yet make money. Reliance is currently one of the most valuable company in the Indian stock exchange. It's very clear. But the reason it is successful is because it has also fundamentally helped change India. One of the biggest changes in India over the last 5 years is that we've gone to 99% of the Indian population today has access to wireless broadband. Let me just remind our audience that after 25 years of doing this in the US, they're only at around 80%. Okay? And India is now at 99%. That's fundamentally changed society. And many of the things that we are talking about would not be available without ubiquitous broadband. Now, that's an example of companies changing things around them while also making money. I'm not saying that they are separate, I think they go together. But if you change society and help improve it, then you will make money and you will have changed the society around you. And this is one great example of how that has occurred.
Absolutely, very valid, and that's something for all of our students to actually experience. In fact, this has been one of those revolutions or things that we've actually experienced in front of us. So I'll move to a audience question that we have, sir, and it's by Satish. Satish is asking: leading global companies have Indian origin CEOs. So, what has stopped Indian origin companies from being global MNCs?
Um, it's a very good question, and I think so. Two things. One is there was a wave of immigration of well, first of all, the U.S. University system has been fantastic. They have attracted the best talent from around the world because it was a very open system, and they gave great scholarships and they have great opportunities. So if you look in certain sciences, take electrical engineering and computer science. If you took the top 50 departments in universities in the US, at least 20 of them will be headed by an Indian scientist. Okay, this is true in many, many fields, especially in engineering, biosciences. It's true in the medical field, etc. So at that time, the opportunities in the US were open. The opportunities in India were not very good, and a lot of talent went internationally. And as long as that individual so they didn't the environment there and the conditions, the structural conditions were fine, and therefore they succeeded in it, right? It's a little bit like, the soil was ready, the seed landed, and the seed mushroomed and did very well, right? In India, for a long time, the soil was not ready for MNC growth. We were not. We had an import. We had restrictions on imports, and therefore we protected our companies, and therefore they didn't become world class. But over the last 20, 30 years, after 1991, when India opened up to the world, then companies are getting better and better, and you are seeing some MNCs emerge out of India, and there will be more over time. It doesn't happen instantaneously. It happens over a period of time. I mean, what would you call TCS? TCS is a great MNC and has been extraordinarily successful and has overtaken, HCL is a great MNC. Infosys is a great MNC. Reliance is becoming an, great MNC. Actually, Mahindra and Mahindra is one of the largest tractor manufacturers in the world. They manufacture on 3 continents in plants all over the place, and their tractors are among the best in the world. They are an MNC. Some of the Tata companies are MNCs. So I think it takes a while to emerge because you have to change the entire environment. In terms of CEOs in the US, if you have the right seed from India, that's all you have to have because the environment there was conducive to allowing CEOs to succeed. So a very interesting question. Um, some time back, some work was done for the Chinese who asked the same question in a different way. They said, why is it that there are so many Indian CEOs who are heading multinationals, but not so many Chinese CEOs? This is what's wrong with this. And it was a very complex study, and it's not easy to answer the question. But one of the very interesting reasons, and this is something we have to learn, right, is that many of the Chinese studied in the US, and because the opportunities were very good in China in the late 80s and 90s, they came back. And so they came back and started huge companies in China. If you look at the backgrounds of the people who started WeChat and Alibaba and Tencent and many of them studied outside China and came back. In India, we didn't have that level of opportunity at certain points in time, and so we didn't have so many people coming back. But I think today that is changing, and many people are coming back, and you'll see the emergence of Indian MNCs started by those people who came back. And in fact, if you look at the 6 or 7 or 10 unicorns in India, many of them studied overseas and came back and started something here instead of starting something in Silicon Valley.
Absolutely great. Thanks so much for that question, Satish. Great question. And I think, it starts with you. So we are the future, and you are certainly the future, Satish. So be a part of that change that you'd like to see. And with that, I'll move to another very interesting audience question that we have. This question is from Shayoni. She asks, how should we take decisions keeping in mind profitability as well as greater good? It's nice to see that the youngsters out there today are talking about the greater good equally. So, any thoughts on that, sir?
Um, at different stages of your career, you might make those choices differently. Okay. And when you have lots of resources, it's a different way to do it. But I think, for example, today everybody is now very concerned about the environment, and you can keep the environment in mind while you're making decisions, right? So if it turns out that you can be much more profitable by polluting the environment, you might choose to not do that. But if you decide that I'm going to protect the environment and therefore I make no money and therefore the company goes bankrupt, that doesn't seem to work either, right? Because you have not created value, etc. So I think it is always a balancing act. One of the things about uh, economics and the current capitalist system that we are in is, the state can do charity, foundations can do charity, but companies have to be successful. Otherwise, they can't do the good that they would like to do either, right? So you have to do both. There isn't really a trade-off. There are trade-offs on the margin, but if you really want to be successful, you will do both, and you will figure out how much to do and how much to not do. If you try to go too far down the line of just doing public good and you don't succeed financially, that's not a good answer. If you succeed financially and you've not done public good, that's not a good answer either.
Absolutely. So it's always a balance, Shayoni. I hope that answers your question. We'll move to another question that we have, and this is a question by Vinod Nambudri. He's actually a Reliance Emerging Leader of the 2012 batch and works with us at Reliance. And he's recently got through the Career Acceleration Program as well. His question is, there are a lot of challenges in taking an idea from idea generation to the idea implementation phase. And if you could share any experience or lessons on how to handle a situation like that and what really makes that phase change successful.
So I want to give you the example of one of the CEOs of a unicorn whom I know. I won't name them. Who once who failed, who had 5 failed startups before they found one that worked. And when I commented on that, he said, actually, I had 100 ideas, 99 of which didn't work, and then one worked. And I'm very glad that one worked, and that's what led it to. Uh, just because you have an idea doesn't give you the God-given right to make it that it will succeed. Okay, there will be a lot of steps between that idea and making it successful, and sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. Come up with something related, change it, modify it. So I think the number one thing that I would tell you is, if you have faith in yourself, keep at it and at it and at it. Adapt to the environment, adapt to the circumstances, but keep at it, because nobody got an idea and had it work first time. It just doesn't happen that way. There are too many other obstacles, but you don't give up on the obstacles. You keep at it and at it. So that's the first point that I would raise. The second thing is, it's a little bit like, you don't, if you were an athlete, you don't go into 110 meters hurdles and cross the first hurdle and say, wow, I'm done, right? All that you've earned by crossing the first hurdle is the right to cross another 9 hurdles before you get to the finish line. And so taking an idea to making it successful, you always face a lot of hurdles in getting it there. Listen, if it was that easy, many more people would have taken that idea and made it work, right? But it isn't easy. It always takes some level of effort. So I would always think about it as, great, I have a great idea, I crossed the first hurdle. Okay. Next hurdle is, can I prove it to somebody? Then you'll have lots of hurdles, how to modify the idea so that somebody actually uses it. We had so many people who come up with great ideas, put lots of money into it, build great technology, and no customer wants it. Then you have to change it to the point where somebody actually likes the idea, the customer likes the idea and wants to use that. So I think you have to be ready to cross the 10 hurdles, and probably it's 100 hurdles, not 10 hurdles, to get there from idea to execution.
Great, absolutely. So you don't give up, and you certainly need to be very, very tenacious to be able to cross all the hurdles. And that's kind of how the entire ultimate pitch story is also built. From one stage to the other, you continue to take your idea through, and that actually brings us to perhaps the last question right now that we have for you, Adil sir. But the advantage of having a TUP community is that we have all our past teams and ideas who still strongly associate with us. And today we have the winners of the ultimate pitch 3.0. That's Team Yodhas from SCM HRD. They are with us here today, and they get this unique opportunity to ask you, Adil sir, a question.
Sure.
So let's quickly welcome on screen Dr. Shubhra and Prakhar. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Over to you for your question to Adil sir.
Go ahead.
Hello, Adil sir. Hi, everyone. It's a huge
Hi.
pleasure to be here today. I'm so excited to meet the Reliance family once again. So, Adil sir, that was an amazing, illuminating session. A few of the points I've written down to use for my further projects. So, as the winning team for Reliance TUP 3.0, we have a question that is split into two parts. So, I'll be asking the first part, and my partner, Prakhar Chaturvedi, will be asking the second part. So, my question to you is, sir, if you were a Reliance competitor, what would be the first step that you would take to sort of counter the kind of disruption that Reliance is causing in the market? If you were the competitor, what would be your first move? And coming to the second part of the question, I would hand it over to Prakhar. Over to you, Prakhar.
Hi, sir. Hi, Adil, sir. Hi, Adil, and thanks for being here. And sir, I am the part of HR platform team in Reliance, and obviously the part of digital disruption which is going on in HR. So my question, continuing on this, is how does an organization or startup must remain or should remain agile in this particular situation when you have competitors, when you have Reliance, and when we are today. So how we need to remain agile and how we need to tackle the competitor, both the things.
Okay. Good. um, Shubhra, very good question. And I think in today's world, uh, first of all, Reliance causes disruption, but little smaller companies have the opportunity to create even more disruption because they can move very, very, very fast. So the first thing, if I'm competing with Reliance, is I would say I'm never going to go head on with Reliance as a small company or do what they're doing. I have to do something different, and I have to do something that's disruptive. And can I move faster than them and do something that'll allow me to that'll allow me to compete with them? That's the first thing that I would think about. I'll come back to how a larger company would think about it. But the second thing I would think about is, in today's world, it's all about competition and cooperation. It's not just competition all the time. If you look at what Reliance has done in the last year, I think Reliance has bought 20 startup companies who have actually done something that Reliance couldn't do, and they did it faster and better. And Reliance said, wow, this is great. Why don't we work with them and help them scale up even faster? And so Reliance has actually ventured with and invested in a very large number of companies that, so if you were a competitor, I would think about how can I convert competition into cooperation would be one thing that you could think about in addition to just continuing to go very fast and disrupting markets. Second part of it, Prabhakar, that you talked about was how does a company keep agile to keep it up? And I think one of the things that people who invest in startup companies tell you is that the startup team is very, very critical. The culture created by the startup team and how they think about it makes a big difference in how the company evolves. And I think the startup team has to set the tone for how to think about the environment and how the company reacts. Is the startup team setting the example of, this is a hurdle and we are going to cross it, or this is a hurdle and my God, we are blocked? Are they continually thinking of ways to improve? Are they continually reacting to the environment? I think you have to do those to be agile rather than be stuck in the way you're thinking. And so the team itself sets the people who started the companies can set the tone and the culture for how you're going to stay agile.
Great, thank you so much. Great questions, Shubhra and Prakhar. Thank you so much for those questions. I particularly liked, Adil sir, where you said that we need to move away from competition to cooperation. I think that's so profound. I mean, that's actually, the way Reliance is also looking at things, and very, very nicely put. I'm now going to switch gears, Adil sir, and I hope that's okay. We are
Sure.
going to play a small game, and I am which I'm just going to have a simple set of questions or other statements that I'm going to put forth, and the first thing that comes to your mind is what you need to say. I've just called this game First Things First. I'm not sure what it's called, so let's just call it First Things First. So are you ready, sir, to play First Things First?
Sure.
All right, great. Thank you so much, sir, and do brace yourself. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say leisure time?
Sailing.
Sailing.
We have a
Wow.
sailboat, and I go
Oh,
sailing
wow.
in Mumbai Harbor whenever I can, except for two things. One is except for when it's monsoons, because you have to take the boats out of the
Correct.
water, and
Sure.
or when there's a lockdown because of COVID and you can't go out there. But otherwise, yes, leisure time over the weekends, particularly, I go sailing.
So that's practically been almost about 10 months, perhaps, since you've not had that opportunity. But let's hope you're back on your sailboat very,
No,
very
no,
soon.
November we restarted.
Oh, great.
So
That's
yes, we've
lovely.
been sailing. It's been lovely.
Okay. Next one, sir. So, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say Adil Zainulbhai as a child?
Um, First thing, precocious, I guess.
All right, great. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say morning motivation?
The first cup of coffee.
Oh, wow. I think that's true even for
I
me.
am a very
Morning
difficult
coffee.
person I'm a very difficult person to deal with if I haven't had my first cup of coffee. And I look forward to, a well-made cup of coffee. We collect beans from all over the place in India and around the world. And so that first cup of coffee just gives you a brace. And I look forward to that when I wake up.
Yeah, I can actually smell it now, the way you've described it. Great, sir. Next question. First thing that comes to your mind when we say alternate career.
I would have loved to be actually, I hope I can still do it and it's not too late to do it. But one of the things that I always thought about is I would have loved to be a perpetual student in a university. It's a great life. You can keep working. You are exploring things all the time. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I started working very early on. But I think the environment around the university is a phenomenal learning experience, and it would have been great to be a perpetual student.
Okay, so if you actually had a choice to trade, you'll perhaps be trading your life with our students who've connected with us right now.
Yeah, exactly,
That's great.
exactly.
Absolutely. We'll move to the next one. So, first thing that comes to your mind when we say bucket list.
Uh, I have to go to. I was planning to go to Antarctica until COVID hit,
Oh,
and so
yeah.
I hope that when things settle down, we are able to go to Patagonia and Antarctica. We love to travel, and I've been to the Arctic, so now I have to get to the Antarctic.
Great. That's lovely. Um, First thing that comes to your mind when we say social media. That's an interesting one I want to know.
I used to be, I was a great fan of social media, and lately I've learned the dark side of it. So the first thing that comes to mind is the dark side of social media, because of the way something, and this is a great lesson for us about technology, which is a thing that was developed to help the world get better and to help the
Yeah.
world communicate, is used in a way that actually made things very bad on many fronts. And so
Hmm.
I'm more worried about the downsides of social media than I'm
Hmm.
excited about the upsides. I'm excited about the upsides, but I don't think many of us we had thought about the downside of social media,
Sounds
and we are now seeing that.
Yeah, well, two sides of a coin, but certainly let's try and hope that our youth who's joined us over here takes that positive streak of the social media and continues to build on that. Next question to you, sir. First thing that comes to your mind when you think of $1 million.
Did any of you see my chart on unicorns?
Yes.
So I think $1 million is the wrong question to ask.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll move to the next one in that case. What comes to your mind when we say the word success?
Um, right now, I think for me, success is uh, the fact that I have, I get calls from people that I helped over the years. I get calls from people whom I've helped today and mentored today. And in my mind, that has been the biggest success that I've had, rather than any particular other thing that I feel that proud of. So for me, success is the number of people whom I've helped develop who hopefully will all do much, much, much better than I did.
Absolutely, sir. And your success story continues because you're doing exactly that right now and reaching out to thousands of students as we speak. The last one, sir, what comes to your mind when we say the word innovation?
Well, I think the ultimate pitch is one, but there are, what comes to my mind is in many years from now, if people link innovation with India, right, that would be an amazing thing, because we're trying to convert our economy from being dependent on others to being a truly innovative economy. And innovation will help improve the lives of so many people, but it'll also help make many people successful based on the ability to innovate. So I think this is one of the big things of the country, and many things are helping. For example, we should get people from the time they join school to learn how to innovate, that they think about innovation in school, in their personal lives, and not wait for some structured innovation that they're
Mm.
constantly thinking about how to make things completely new. When we get to that mindset, then we will have reached the point where it'll be very exciting. And I hope that many years from now, just as we always connect Silicon Valley and Bell Labs and the Israeli ecosystem to innovation, that people connect India with innovation.
Wow, that's really, really lovely. And of course, I'm not going to forget that you also said the ultimate pitch. So, on that note, thank you so much for joining us, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for your time and candor. I think, it's been so lovely just knowing so many things about you. But before you leave, please share your parting message to all our young students and participants out there.
I I would just end by saying that this is a phenomenal time that people are graduating in or people are working in. The problem of living in a phenomenal time is that you want to make sure that you're not wasting it. That you are taking advantage of the opportunities that you get to do something truly innovative and different, and to change the world, and that you take that on.
Great. Thank
So
you so
thank you
much, sir.
very
And on
much.
that very, very powerful note, thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank you. Bye bye, sir. Okay, wasn't that a wonderful masterclass, guys? I think there have been some inspiring lessons coming out of that masterclass. However, the show is not done. The TUP community helps and supports each other, and with that very intent, we have our former TUP champions, the ultimate winners of TUP 3.0, Team Yodhas, who you saw briefly. Team Yodhas is from SCMHRD, and they are with us today to share their learnings and help you all ideate and win. So, Shubhra and Prakhar, welcome back on the screen, and so good to see you guys again. I hope you are doing well and safe. It's so lovely to see the two of you. Shubhra, you're on mute. Please unmute. The favorite thing that we say nowadays.
Thank you so much, Aarti. It's a pleasure to connect with you all as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
great. So,
I,
yes, Prakhar, go on.
obviously, I mean, I'm doing good, and we are aware how we are working on work from home, working day and night. But yeah, I'm enjoying that particular.
Okay, great. So, for everyone out there who's logged in, for you all to know, this team was unanimously won the third season with a beautiful idea on creating a low cost, locally sourced product called Potion to treat acute malnutrition, especially in children. So, I'm going to hand this over to the two of you. Tell us about your TUP story, the journey, what made you participate. I mean, it's typically, like a time to go down memory lane. Why don't you tell us your TUP story?
Thank you so much, Aarti. Gosh, it's bringing all the memories back. And it's truly a pleasure reliving all of them because you get so caught up in life. And then suddenly, you think about what you had done and the teams that you had, worked with. It's so wonderful to see my own teammate Prakhar over here as well. We live very far apart, so we don't get a chance to meet as well. So it's truly a pleasure to see you all. So, about Potion, I'll keep it brief. The idea that we had projected, it had been with me for a couple of years. When I was a doctor working in the rural and tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh, I had seen a lot of children, small babies, suffering due to malnutrition. And malnutrition is a problem that can easily be treated, it can be cured. It doesn't have to be the end for so many people. So at that time, I started thinking and I started doing a lot of research. And after a lot of failed attempts, I think 116 failed attempts, I finally came up with the product that is called Potion, which was used to treat severe acute malnutrition. And then when I started my MBA, we came across this ad for Reliance TUP. And the best part about TUP was that it was for a social cause. It just wasn't that, they give you a case and you find a problem. Everything is in PPTs and everything is in bright charts and, graphs and stuff. It actually encouraged students to make a difference. And that is something that really stayed with me. So Prakhar and I, we are from the same hometown and we have been friends for a long time. So I told him, guys, come on, let's make a team. This is a competition I need to take part in. And then I'll always remember the campus finale because as Prakhar knows, and you also know, our video malfunctioned at that time. And then we had to improvise. After that, the 1 month from our campus finale to the actual national finale, I think it was 4 to 6 weeks. And we will never forget those 4 to 6 weeks, because though we work day in and day out, as Adil sir had very correctly said, that an idea is not enough. If you have an idea, you need a backup plan, you need an implementation strategy, and you have to keep at it. So I think that 1 month was very memorable, and I'm very lucky that I got such a wonderful team. So in my team Yodhas, there were Prakhar Chaturvedi, there was Prachi and Nilotpal Mishra. And together, I guess we were able to somehow concoct the winning combination with a lot of support from the Reliance team. Another thing that was very special about the Reliance competition was that we were provided a mentor, and we could ask him doubts, we could be guided, because a lot of the business plan that we had made, our mentor had guided us through it. So he taught us to think strategically. So overall, it was a wonderful experience. I'm handing it over to Prakhar, because I'm sure there are a lot of memories that Prakhar wants to share as well. Over to you, Prakhar.
I think Prakhar's video seems to be stuck. We'll just give it a few seconds. Prakhar,
He's
yes,
back.
I think
Yeah, I'm audible.
yes.
Yeah, so definitely, I mean, although Shubhra has told quite exactly happened, but yeah, I mean, we totally enjoyed this experience. The moment we formed a team, even initially we were skeptical that this idea will fly or not in Reliance. What is the requirement? We were not clear, and we were always skeptical. But the most important thing is keep confidence. And another thing which Adil sir told, that have a culture. The team we had a culture that we need to have confidence at any point of time. We need to work hard for day and night. And obviously, I mean, the team, Reliance Talent Acquisition team, and the whole team was really supportive. And obviously, I mean, after that, after campus finale, the jury also helped us, the Gen Next mentorship. And post that, obviously, the best thing is the grand finale. I still remember it was 13th and 14th Feb. It has been 3 years, and 2018. And obviously it was a Valentine's Day, but yeah, we enjoyed that grand finale there, and it was better than what it would have been. So yeah, I mean, we had immersion module, we have I mean, the overall competition, everything was great. I mean, the teams which came across, you'll feel that you will make or not, but end of the day, it's your confidence. So I would say, yeah, thanks Aarti at that moment of time to support us and the whole team for that. So it was a great journey altogether.
Great. So lots of memories, including Valentine's Day memories, seem to be coming back. But it's so nice, for the two of you to share your story. Prakhar, I'm going to direct this question to you. What's been your biggest takeaway from TUP, and how have things changed for you from TUP?
So the best thing which happened with me for TP was I cracked the PPO of Reliance Industries, obviously, and the whole journey, the learnings which I had in this TUP, I mean, from the starting, from campus finale to grand finale. So as I told, we had immersion module, which is nothing but a kind of induction, where we came across all the business of Reliance, what all happens. We had a leadership connect, mentorship connect. So these things helped me in Reliance presently. So I had 2 stints in Reliance till date. I've been to Jamnagar, and now I'm working in the corporate, in the digital team, HR platform team. So the learnings, the key takeaways were the network which I built. I mean, use and leverage that network. Use network to learn, to do primary research. And this was the biggest takeaway I had. And always connect. Don't feel shy. Give your best. Connect with the LM, connect with the Reliance LM, connect with anyone. But try to learn and give your best. So I think this was the biggest learning which I had. And right now, this is the reason I'm quite successful in the present leadership program here.
Awesome, great. So I think some tips coming out for all our audience there, and all those teams who are wondering if they're making it to the next round. I think what Prakhar has shared is going to be gold, because you need to continue to have those networks that you build. I'll direct this to you, Shubhra. How about you? How has life been for you since TUP 3.0?
Thanks, Aarti. Life has been pretty good since winning Reliance TUP 3.0. I absolutely agree with Prakhar. Not only did we get fantastic memories, but we built a great network as well. I remember there were 25 teams competing with us that year, and we had a WhatsApp group of all the. I'm sure you guys must have one right now as well. So we made it a point to connect and to talk to as many teams as we could. And till today, we are in touch. Till today, we are talking regularly. Till today, we are each other's backup support. So that networking has really paid off big time. And after that, I'll talk a little about Potion, because Reliance gave it a huge platform to grow from there. So after that, we were very lucky to get the attention of a non-profit international development agency called Confederation of Empowerment Initiatives, and partner up with them. And I'm very happy and very proud to say that during this lockdown, Ocean, under the umbrella of Confederation of Empowerment Initiatives, has been instrumental in feeding, meeting the nutritional requirements, and getting food, grain, and water and medical supplies available to the rural and tribal population of Raigad district in Maharashtra throughout the past 6 months of this lockdown, and it is still continuing. So every time that I look back at that journey, I feel so lucky that I got to be part of such a wonderful team. I feel even more lucky that we got to be part of Reliance TUP, and we got to get exposure at that national level, because that is what startups want. That is what entrepreneurs want. You do want not only the recognition, but you want that mentorship as well as the network that is going to launch your startup to the next level. So I'll again say I have a lot of fond memories of Reliance TUP. And to the people who are watching here, I guess there are the teams who are going to be competing for the finale. Uh, Three things that I want to stress upon, because believe me, I have been through what you guys are going. I know when you talk amongst the team, we keep thinking ये डालें वो डालें पीपीटी में क्या डालें क्या बोले ये क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया तो हम क्या बोलेंगे वो क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया तो वी से या तुम हैंडल कर लेना you answer this question I will answer this question. So I can totally relate to what you guys are going through. Three things are very, very important. The first one is, again, as Adil sir had said, an idea is not enough. You need to have a detailed implementation plan. You need to have an impact analysis as well. How is your innovation going to impact society? Because this is something I truly loved about Reliance TUP. It is a competition with a difference. They truly want to make a difference. Second is, and this is something that I've seen amongst a lot of students, believe in your idea. You have to believe in your idea. You have to believe in the implementability and the practicality of your idea. If you won't believe, how will you expect the judges to believe in your idea? So have that confidence and have that sincerity that, yes, I'm doing this for the betterment of the society. And third thing, which I wish somebody had told me at that time, please enjoy the process, because you spend so much time being nervous, thinking कि कैसे जाएगा क्या जाएगा हमारा लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा, how will we perform, that we forget to enjoy the process. This is a wonderful time with your batchmates, your friends, your teammates. Some of the fondest memories I have with my friends, one or two of them you can see on the screen right now, are during our time preparing for Reliance TUP. So please enjoy the process and please make sure you make lots of memories. Over to you, Prakhar. I'm sure there are so many valuable points that you would like to add as well.
Definitely, Shubhra, and I mean to all the participants this time. I mean, first of all, it's not relevant that you have a tech idea or you have non-tech idea. Firstly, have, as Shubhra told, you have faith on your idea. Whatever idea is, just work on it. Have a proper story. Have a proper marketing strategy. Have every facet clear. I mean, obviously, the detailed implementation is important. You should know when, where, and how you will implement that idea. So, implementation is very important. And if it's great, if you have a pilot of that particular project or an idea, but still, irrespective of that, work on our idea well. And I'm telling you very clearly, this is the best B school competition right now. And I mean, I've been through various competitions, and I believe Reliance TUP is the best competition. The moment you'll be here, you'll learn a lot of things. And more than that, I mean, in case you crack a PPO, you will be a best company to work with in the Reliance Emerging Leadership Program. But other than that, I mean, I'm not talking about if you crack the PPO or not, or what will happen. More than that, enjoy the process, have fun, learn, build your network, and all the best.
Awesome, great. I think you guys have summarized your experience and at the same time given some wonderful messages to all those teams out there. I'm just going to end with one word that I want from the two of you. So, Shubhra, what's the one word that comes to your mind when you think of the ultimate pitch?
Competition with a purpose.
Competition with a purpose. Wow, that's lovely. Prabha, the same question to you. What's the one word or one thing that comes to your mind? I'm continuing with what we did with Adil, sir. First things first. So, what comes to your mind when you hear the ultimate pitch?
Learning for life. I mean, everything you learned, it will help you for lifetime.
Awesome, great. So thank you so much, Shubhra and Prakhar, for joining us. It's so lovely to see the two of you again. Exactly 3 years back, like Prakhar said, is where we had you guys pitching on that screen so passionately, and it's so nice to see both of you doing so well in your lives. All the very best to both of you. Continue to shine and excel, and with that, wish you all the best, and of course, stay safe. Thank you so much for joining. Bye, guys.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you so
Aarti.
much. Thank you so much, Aarti.
Thank you. Okay, so that was Team Yodhas that joined us, and it's so wonderful to see some of our teams doing so well. And that's the spirit of the TUP community. Now, that brings us to the end of this masterclass, but we are already gearing up, and I'm very, very excited to see you in the next episode of TUP We Evolve Masterclass, which is on the 19th of February. And yet again, we will be back with some inspiring lessons and a lot of fun, so stay tuned. Oh, wait, if you thought that was the end, well, it's not. It is time for us to reveal the semi finalists of TUP 6.0. Semi finalist teams, get ready to be mentored by Reliance experts who, from tomorrow, will make sure that your ideas shine for the next stages. So, congratulations to all the semi finalists. Don't let your guard down and stay safe. It's me, Aarti, signing off, and I'll see you next week. The semi finalists are